Thank you. Since I have this slide up here, I didn't know I'd have it. I'll start by saying that when I looked at the links they gave us about how to do these, all the links said that you would be drunk. And I was really counting on that for this. So we love a revolution, right? Especially the Industrial Revolution. Economies of scale, comparative advantage, these principles we have used to gain efficiencies, increase profitability, minimize inputs, maximize outputs, generate profit. These are really great things for a market-driven society. As you can imagine, in this kind of system, workers and materials become inputs. Products become outputs. All of it measured by the profitability of the organizations that are driving this behavior. Now, predictably, this model moved to agriculture because farmers, above all things, are also businessmen, and they need to make a profit like any other industry. The result of that is factory system farms. Do thousands of acres instead of a few acres. Maximize automation. Minimize your touch points. Take animals and put them in cages. You can put a tube in one end and a tube in the other end, and you can just watch them grow in place. Very little management needed. This has definitely changed our system, and add on to that export. And the push to export, because when we get money from beyond our boundaries, it makes us a wealthier nation. And voila, the global food system, replete with subsidies and exports and movement and complexities and major arteries. And as a result of this, 97% of the food on your plate comes from outside of the state boundaries. But nonetheless, that food is relatively inexpensive to us. As a nation, we spend less on food as a percentage of our income than any other nation in the world. We have food in abundance. But all of this comes with some risks. These major arteries can be severed, whether it's flood, earthquake, fire, road construction in Colorado. Terrible stuff. There are risks beyond the transportation. Plant disease can ruin entire crops. We have a monoculture agricultural society. And part of the risk of that is one blight can wipe the whole thing out, like it did in the Irish potato famine, where they were growing one variety of potatoes because that's what everybody loved. Water scarcity. Gosh, we're seeing so much of this right now. California is in one of the worst droughts in history. It produces 50% of our fruits and vegetables. That impacts the entire nation. Enter local food, held up by many to be the answer to the risks in our global food system. Let's balance it with local food. Is it possible? A study in 2010 in Vermont found that the land in Vermont would in fact feed all of the Vermont residents as compared to the USDA dietary requirements. So everybody would get the USDA dietary requirements. But there are all kinds of complexities that come with that, not least of which is a lot of the grain production would have to shift to vegetable production. And that has many impacts, including labor. Who's going to work the land? You have more water required. You have processing, automation, lots of investments that have been made over time that are going to need to change, and these can be very cost prohibitive. So it leaves us with a question. Is it actually possible to increase the local food system to the point that it becomes a meaningful counterbalance to the risks in our global food system? The global food system doesn't just have risks related to supply, it also has risks related to economic development, some of the risks that I find the highest are taste and quality. There are all kinds of reasons we want a local food system, but I wonder, has the ship sailed? Has that ship sailed that we can have this wonderful local food system and actually have that be a meaningful aspect of how we eat? So 3:30 tomorrow, this panel takes people from this community that live this question on a daily basis, asks it, and says, can we be saved? If not, what are the challenges that we need to overcome to make local food a substantial solution to the issues that we face with our global food system? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Next up, we have Graham Agate from Lincoln.